Welcome, everyone, to episode 208 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantalaresco. I write stuff and podcast too. Today, I conclude my When Words Collide conversations with none other than Mark Leslie. I always enjoy chatting with Mark. Mark is one of the most insightful, sweetest guys, actually, I think, in the industry. This interview took place at a time where he was transitioning. I mean, he's done some really cool stuff since then. You should check out Montreal Macabre. You should also check out his 7 P's Success. It's a really good book he's putting together. I mean, Mark is one of the most knowledgeable guys in the industry, bar none. And it's always a pleasure to pick his brain and just have a chat about how things are, because very few people know it as well as he does. He cares, he's passionate, and Mark, if you're listening to this, I know I'm building up really big, but it's all true, man. But I mean, we had a great time, and I wish I had a chance to talk more honestly that weekend than I did, but I enjoyed the chat we had, and hopefully next year when he comes back to When Words Collide, we can make this a regular thing. 3 times makes it a tradition, they say. So Mark, you got an invitation when you come back. If you all know that, let's just get to that conversation, all right?
We'll go from wherever.
All right.
But the thing about it is, there's not really, we're very good at creating work for ourselves, but I find as I get older, I realize a lot of us don't know how to actually play.
Oh yeah, we lose that as adults.
Yeah, big time. And the big thing I recognized, like this event, as amazing as it is, right? We have events at night which are really cool, but especially when you get to like Saturday and Sunday, your head gets to that point where it's like, you know what, I need to vent some steam in the middle of the day. So me and Vanessa did like a Dr. Seuss off at the open mic, and then I pitched it. Randy suggested I pitch it the year after. It's like it turned into a recess panel, and I realized like that's what a show like this actually needs. A place where like, especially people like Naomi who get heckled. Well, not to say heckled's the wrong word. She gets chased down a lot because of who she is and what the door that she potentially opens for a lot of people. They need that moment where they can just goof off, let off some steam, so they can go back and face whatever they're going to face. Also, I want to hear that Yoda voice again. That was fantastic.
To hear the Yoda voice that she did?
Yeah, she did the Yoda voice. She did the Yoda voice to Fox and Fox. That wasn't all. There was a Russian accent from somebody else. It got better. There was 2 Valley Girl. There was that Valley Girl off on that, which is hilarious. Elaine Lee did a English voice, which is hilarious, and then Risa did like various accents throughout. So it was all, I could not keep a straight face, and it was all.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important because we're creative people, right?
Yeah.
And we're here to learn the craft, the business, all the things, the networking, and we're on and we're focused and we're driven and we're all adults and we're being serious and we have goals and we have targets and we have things to accomplish. And we forget the fact that the reason we most likely are writing is because we have this passion and this creative flair, and that's really our inner child. A lot of people lose that when they become adults. Unfortunately, writers never lose that, but you need to give your child a chance to escape.
Yes.
It's why on Saturday night it organically developed this fort building exercise.
Yes.
Because kids build forts and they have imaginations.
Yes, I was really sad because I had to miss ghost stories at the end there. It made me really, really sad.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
But again, I think you're right. Having a recess during the day allows people an extra opportunity to kind of blow the steam, reset.
Yeah, because usually, I mean Saturday especially, because the autograph. It's the only thing I don't know how to fix this. It's like the autograph section is just a really cramped, compact, 2-hour schmore, like
socializing.
Yeah. It's a really cramped...
Standing around and talking to other writers, basically.
But yeah, it's one of those things where you're just like, it's not... You need to do it, on the one, and I get that, but on the other hand, it's like if you had like a way to blow up some steam before you go in there, it makes it easier to deal with going in, because it is a very small room, hot room. It's like, okay, cool. And then, because I noticed that once it's out in time to escape, everybody is just good.
It just moves.
It's almost like a jailbreak. It's like, I'm free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You've gone through some changes since we last talked.
I have. I've, thanks for noticing. I've gained like a 1/4 inch in height. I've grown.
Yeah.
So I'm not at Kobo anymore. I left that at the end of last year. and I'm just writing full time and consulting and coaching. And again, I loved my job. I loved what I did. So I'm still doing it, but I'm not doing it with a corporate hat on. I'm doing it independently, working for the author rather than for Kobo.
Which is a very I will say this, with your expertise, I'm sure you had pretty good demand when you walked out the door.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's still a risk though, right?
Oh yeah, because I mean I was making really good money and I had really good benefits.
Yeah.
And I loved what I did, and so it's suddenly to go from not having those benefits and not having that great income, it's a scary thing. The transition was tough, and there was a moment where I said, okay, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing was what am I going to do now? Because the opportunities were there, and I could just sit back, decompress, and go, what do I want to do? I don't want to drive to Toronto every day and lose 3 to 4 hours out of my life.
I don't blame you there.
Right. That I knew for sure.
Yeah.
So when opportunities came up, if the opportunity involved having to go to Toronto and losing 2 or 3 or 4 hours out of my life every day, the pay's not worth it.
No.
The satisfaction of what I did at Kobo was amazing, and I still have that satisfaction because I still work with authors, I still coach them. Now, my solutions are even, I would never steer an author in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But now my solutions don't have to include Kobo. They often do because I respect and admire the company, and I love what they do, and I love what they can do for authors. But maybe an author's goal is, so for example, an author who wants to sell poetry, most likely is going to be a print game for them, which means there's not much that Kobo can do for them.
No.
To help them really be successful. So the focus would be on that and working with bookstores and libraries and doing all the things that they can do and doing events and all the things that they can cultivate that author brand.
Yeah.
So I kind of love the freedom, and I also feel that there's no corporate shadows on me. And there was a case last year, and it sparked here at When Words Collide last year. My partner Liz was here with me, and we were chatting socially with author after the event, and the author pulled me aside and said, I'd really like to get your opinion about some of these choices I have coming up in my author path. Mm-hmm. And this is an author who's doing quite well for themselves. And I came back and I said, well, here's what I think Kobo can do for you. Here's what I think, because Kobo was, I was a guest of honor, so the con was paying, but normally Kobo's paying my way to be here, and I was here sponsoring and giving readers out and stuff like that. So, I was there on Kobo's dime in a way. And so all my solutions were Kobo this, Kobo that. And later on she said, he didn't ask for Kobo's help, he asked for your help. He wanted you. He didn't necessarily want Kobo. Was Kobo the right thing for him?
And that's a valid point.
And I said, in his case, yes, but you're right. He wanted my expertise and my 25 years of experience, not my 6 years of Kobo.
Yeah.
And I recognize that was also part of the genesis where I said, am I actually doing authors a disservice if I'm not putting them ahead and their needs ahead of, right? And so it was a really,
and that's an interesting line you were walking there too, because you believe in the company you were working with, otherwise you wouldn't have worked with them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just say, like, a guy like me who kind of comes up with his own little creative deep spectrum.
Yeah.
The Kobo is not necessarily the best thing for me.
It's just one element.
It's one element. I want to know more about it because it's to my benefit to know more about it.
Right.
But on the flip side, right, it's like it may not be the best solution. But when you work for them, the pull is, well, I should be helping the company I'm working for.
I should at least have some benefit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a tough line to walk because on the other hand too, that doesn't. You've been doing 19 of your 25 years without them, and you are still a very active part of the literary community, and you never stop learning, and that's why you go to events like this.
I learn more than I share when I come here. Like, I feel guilty that I've taken more than I've given. Like that's how I always feel when I come here.
I've done a podcast for nearly 200 episodes. Do you know how guilty I feel about that?
Because you're learning as you keep each one.
Yeah, because everybody gives me a different point of view, and again, there's not. And the thing is, the interesting, like for me, like the idea why I do something like this.
Yeah.
What makes people like you do what you do? Like, where does that love come from? What events shaped you to make you who you are? And I get that opportunity with each and every person, right? And then on the flip side, though, it's like I only we get a half hour, an hour. It's about them, so I don't always feel like I'm giving the same deal. I can kind of
you're benefiting from that. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think something that you just said sort of made me flash on it. One of the things that drives me and motivates me is wanting to share the things that I learned and maybe the mistakes that I've made, because I've made lots of them.
Oh yeah.
So that I can maybe help a writer maybe not have it hurt so much, not bruise as much as it bruised me, so I can spare them that, because why not share?
Yeah.
And the writing community is so generous and giving, and everyone's so willing to share their experience. And your experience will not be the same as mine, but here's something that happened to me, so maybe you can learn from that, and you may apply it differently.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I've seen way too many times in over the years is writers whose hopes and dreams are crushed from people who took advantage of their hopes and dreams and desires and passions for writing, and also people who crush their own dreams because they believe that they're not good enough, and they, helping them overcome the exterior villains and the interior villains that plague us all.
Well, I posted this really this morning. I said, okay, the three ingredients to success are three things: the imagination to perceive it,
right?
The heart to do the work to do it, and the belief that it can be done.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what it takes. And now, the first one, the imagination, that can come over time, because I certainly can tell you, like, things accidentally seem to fall in my lap all the time. I'm just smart enough just to go with it and see where it can take me, right? I've learned that skill, but
however, the accidents that happen to you are probably the result of hard work. The harder you work, the happier those accidents are. Is that true?
By and large, yes. Like, I mentioned the Dr. Seuss. That was a fantastic. That worked way better than I expected that to.
Right.
But I think the one I point out, I have a board game here.
Okay.
So the idea was, I'm doing another epic poetry series, but I want to do something different than the first one, because why go back to a well you've already been to?
Exactly.
Right. So I had this idea of, it'd be really cool. It's an Alice in Wonderland based epic poetry thing.
All right.
Why don't we do a board game map of like this multiverse, like a Snakes and Ladders thing? It totally ties to Alice. That feels very Alice-y.
Okay.
And I had this in my head, like, this is fantastic. And I asked the question, how do you play this game? It was just one of those, and I'm not kidding, like the base rules of the game, literally just like beating him was like, I think I accidentally invented a board game right here and there. So I'm like, that's part of the package I'm working on. It means now it's going to take me a little longer to get the first book out, because now it's not just a book, it is a book and a board game. So does that right? Yeah. That's how my process works. I will work on something, I'll find a, no pun intended, rabbit hole, and I'll kind of just see what's I'll kind of go down the hole a little bit, just kind of see what's there.
Oh, Alice found some cool things.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. She totally does. And that's kind of the, like, I'm smart enough to recognize when there's, like, I can see an idea and how it could possibly work. Now, maybe it doesn't work the way I envision it, but that's not always a bad thing either. Sometimes it works better.
Yeah. Sometimes, It's the old song that the Stones actually sang, is you can't always get what you want, you get what you need.
Yeah.
And
exactly. And that's kind of it. Like for me, I think that's why I say imagination can be a learned thing. I never envisioned like this book being more than just a book. Now I can envision it being something more.
Right.
So my challenge next is, okay, where can I really push that?
Yeah.
Because that just that makes sense for me to do in this particular project, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, but that's the way you operate. That is your sort of operation. Is you have an intellectual property that may come out in prose, in poetry, in other creative pursuits, and you don't let the restrictions of 300 pages bound by 2 pieces of cloth restrict you. You say, I have this vision of a game and interactivity and people playing it, and it's all of these things.
And all these things feed off each other, right? And also, it's also just the nature of today is all our mediums are closer together than they ever were.
Yeah.
Why not see where they fit? Like really, really fit. And even if it doesn't, the downside, the risk I take is no one will like the model. Although a few people, their eyes shine when I say, "Ooh, I like this idea."
Yeah.
So that's kind of where like I look at it, and I'm sure with you, like when we go back to the vision, imagine. That's what I say. Vision can be taught, but imagination can be to some degree taught. But the passion to go and do the work and the belief in oneself. Like the worthiness concept, I can even tell you this, like with writers I've interviewed, I know there are some I have zero question will succeed.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
There are some I worry about a little bit.
Right.
And there are some, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to name names. I think every one of them can succeed. I don't doubt that for a second. It's just I know that some of the obstacles are external. But it's the internal ones that are so
difficult,
to overcome.
Well, because you can't point at them because you can't see them because they're inside of you.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot, like, I look at someone like Jonas Saul, right? This is a guy that, like, he's very successful at this. But he's got all 3 of those check boxes. He has an imagination where he could be. He has the heart to do it, and he's still hungry, and he believes he can do it, and that's why he is so successful. And that's not taking away from any of his abilities inside the pages too, because his books are good, or else no one would buy them, right? But he has those 3 things nailed down very well. Another author that I know that does this, like Susie Badori, she has those all those things in spades, and I know with her. She's going to be really successful because she knows what she wants, she believes she can do it, and she has the heart to do the work to find it.
For sure. Yeah, I see that in both of them.
Yeah,
very strong. Yeah.
And that's kind of like so I like there are people like that I have like zero doubt with, but it's amazing. It took me a long time to figure out what those 3 things were. So it's like, what does it take? This one. So it's like, okay, that's simple, but it's so very, very hard.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So does that mean kind of, in some ways, you're kind of like a bit of a psychologist with them?
Yeah, maybe a counselor or a coach.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think a coach isn't right. But what it is most of the time, the author already has the answer, and it's like a psychologist. The author already has the answer. Right? They just need to talk through it, to have somebody ask the right questions to help pull it out, and then maybe advise based on what they, you say your goal is this, but it sounds to me like your goal is that. Is that true? Because I actually have no answers.
No.
I only have questions, and maybe I can help you. Because usually they're doing all the work themselves. I'm just poking them in the right. It's like a personal trainer. You're doing all the work, and you have to be committed to do the work. I'm going to tell you the things that I think you should do to get where you need to go, but you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And that's, so maybe it's almost like a personal writer trainer or something.
Yeah, because it sounds like, so you got one aspect back. You're also now, you get the opportunity to really, really write again. How exciting is that for you?
Oh, you know what? I'm over the moon. Ironically, I've been so invested in, I launched the podcast in this year.
Yeah.
I'm so invested in that. I'm so invested in some of the marketing aspects of my writing. And I'm so invested in my clients, and I don't like to call them clients because it sounds cold.
Yeah.
My friends or my my authors, my tribe, my people. But I'm so invested in them that I would rather spend time helping them be successful than. So I have to schedule writing, and I'm bad about that. So it's like I'm good at advising them, I'm not so good at following my own advice.
So maybe I have to give you the same thing I had learned. I'm relearning. My podcast has kind of been blowing up the last couple months. It's been a fun ride ever since I got nominated for the Aurora, and it's been like, well, this has led to this, and now my numbers are going like this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great, right? But it has detracted from a lot of the other things I wanted.
You had plans.
Yeah, I had plans. No, what plans?
No, but like the more successful you get in that regard, the more it may take away from those other things you.
Well, yeah. So, so for me, I've had to learn. I'm learning this. I'm gonna have to I have to focus down on the things that are really important.
Right.
And I think maybe that's where if writing is like. Don't get me wrong, I totally get why you vicariously enjoy that, because even though you're not doing like the quote unquote heavy lifting, you made a difference. You can actually visibly see there's a lot of satisfaction in that.
I take pride in even the traditionally published authors that I supported and helped. And now I joke and I say, oh yeah, I made you sign a contract that you'd still talk to me once you were famous. Yeah. and I make that joke with authors because like you're going to be famous.
Yeah.
You'll still be my friend, right?
Yeah.
But there's a good feeling to watch someone be successful and to know you played one small part in helping them.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that's the other little quiet joy I get with doing this. Yeah. Right. I don't think I have like a huge following or anything like that, but sometimes I go through a talk and it's like I feel like something's changed in a good way, and that's one of my favorite things. So, but I learned that like for me, I'm making a conscious effort by the time the Aurora Awards show up to have something ready to pitch while there, even because I think it's an opportunity. Like right now it's an opportunity for me. I should take advantage and again going back to the see where it goes kind of deal, right? But but I have to make a conscious decision that, okay, if that's my priority, then all these other extraneous, like maybe the board game goes on the back burner for a few months. And I'll still play test it, but it won't be like all-consuming, hey, cool, I just made something really cool and neat and shiny. It's not the priority right now, right? And that's. I think maybe you're kind of in that same boat where you're doing great here, you're doing great here. It's like, okay, I can make time for this. I gotta make the time for this and still see your family and tell them you love them, and still have that time for that too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, oh, for sure, definitely. And I'm the kind of guy that I tend to know there's certain times of the day that I write really, really well. So if I don't schedule those times, I'm not going to get good productive writing done.
Yeah.
When I schedule those times, I kill it.
Yeah.
But again, I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't schedule it. Well, no. So again, but then first identify your weakness.
Yes.
And then figure out how you're going to overcome it.
Yeah, exactly. Like my weakness is lack of focus.
Yeah.
Right. So ergo.
Guilty is charged over here.
High five.
Right.
Yeah. But that's.
Wait, what was that? No.
Butterfly. Yeah. Pretty. Anyways. But the thing is, we have to. So okay, I've acknowledged this. So what can I do? Focus on that one project. Maintain like for me, this is me. Focus on that one project I feel like could actually maybe do something.
Right.
And then for the rest of it, keep the podcast consistent, because the other thing too is what makes you successful, you got to keep doing to maintain that success.
Right.
So keep that going the way it is. Make that time, and then nothing else at the moment matters. Right. So if there's anything pretty and cool that you think, yeah, I can do it. No, it's not your time.
Yeah, it's pretty and cool. But
Yeah,
and I've actually had to say no to a few things that have come up, not because I didn't think I could do a good job, but also because it would have taken away from something else that was important.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to see. It's like, wow, I'd really love to do this. But I really love to do this more.
Yeah, but that's a good problem to have, though,
too. It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But it's something that, it's decisions, you make many decisions like this every single day.
Absolutely.
Like, for breakfast, what am I going to eat? Or am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Right? You make all of these little mini decisions all the time. We tend to only focus on the big ones. But I also like to believe that so many of those mini decisions that we make subconsciously and don't think about affect our ability to get the things done that are important, right? So
no, absolutely.
Training yourself of I'm just going to check my email first before I start my writing session. I've learned is one of those little things I don't really think about. I just open it up and do it.
Yeah.
And I'm done. I'm gone. I've lost half an hour suddenly. It's like, what happened?
For me, my guilty thing is YouTube. That's my. I'm not mature enough for Netflix. I'm still not mature enough for that, so I don't even. I'm not even going to install this. It's like that's my solution there.
That works.
Yeah, but YouTube's my guilty pleasure. I have a day job still, so I do need a decompression time.
Right.
Between.
Yeah, and YouTube can give that to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
so
sit back and just absorb.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
But after a while, it really cuts into your time, and there's a fine line between that decompression and it's like, I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to use that rabbit hole metaphor again. I'm just going to keep going down and see where it leads.
Yeah.
And then you end up somewhere and it's like, what the hell? Why did I even do this? And you look at the time.
Yeah. What the hell was that all about?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're trying to become better adults, Mr. Mike.
Well, maybe. And yet, it's critical that we continue to embrace our childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's why I'm going to come up with more silly events like the Dr. Seuss off.
Exactly.
I actually agree. There should be a fourth thing. This is what I think. Friday night, I should do Seuss. Saturday night should be Fortnite, just to keep the tradition. And then
alive,
and then Sunday.
Because it's a different kind of play.
Yeah.
Right. The Seuss is a different kind of play that requires a type of energy.
Yes.
Fortnite. The other nice thing about Fortnite is what I loved about what we did. Just to explain to people listening, right? When words collide, there's a bunch of people that are putting furniture and tablecloths together to create a fort, to crawl into the fort like kids, to tell ghost stories, have a few drinks, joke around,
and
laugh with
just
each
hang
other.
out.
But we made two different forts because there was not enough room. But then there was also people that were just in the room and just hanging out.
Yeah.
And they were bringing drinks to people who didn't want to crawl out of the fort. They were part of the team, and they were comfortable there, and there were people comfortable in the fort. So what I loved about it is you could just be part of that whole thing, like the Seuss off. You could be part of just sitting and enjoying it rather than being one of the participants, right? And I love that you can still participate and be included without having to be at the center of it. Depending on your introversion.
I'm actually going to plug When Worlds Collide specifically for this because I can't speak for the other writing one in Utah. I haven't gone to that one yet, so I can't speak for that one. But the cool thing about here is I think I've only seen one thing that seems like where people are kind of, there was a person last year that kind of got banned for some stupid stuff last year. But besides that, everybody's just trying to get along here.
For the most, pretty much everyone's inclusive and welcoming, and I love that people can feel like, oh, can I join you? Of course you can.
Yeah.
There's none of this middle school BS where it's like, no, you're not the cool kid.
I'll give you a little one. Joe Compton, very cool dude. Got to meet him, and it's funny because we do a lot of similar things, but we don't. But we never actually crossed paths.
You've never met him until this week?
No. So we ended up having a drink here Friday night. We just chatted for like 2 hours.
Oh, that's great.
Right? And then Saturday he was sitting by himself. I was like, come on, join us over here. Just why not? Just put him in as because
bring people in. Like,
because I actually said this, like, we're not really competing with each other. No, I mean, when you get right down to it, like, me and you get a story template.
Yeah.
Your story will be different from my story.
Oh God, even if we say put these 12 elements in the story.
It'd be totally different because the stories we ultimately tell, I believe, are our own stories. And so your story is very different than my story. Ergo, the final product's going to be very different the end. So the challenge all of us have is, who is Mark Leslie? What is he offering and why should I care? Who is Joshua Pantelleresco? What is he offering? Why should that people care? That's the real challenge, and we can all help each other with that.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
But that's why this community is so welcoming. I mean, when I first came 4 years ago, an author told me, this is the only conference I pay my own way to go to every single year. And I said, you're just being nice. You're just saying that to see, because you're being complimentary about the conference. And after I left, I registered immediately before I left for the next one. And I said and I've gone to hundreds of conferences. There is truly a sense of energy and compassion And again, this is a different kind of conference than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones are better for this, but one of the things I really adore about this is it's like 700 people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I'm at a con with 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know everyone, but I do feel that even if I don't, they would still welcome me in.
Yeah.
Do you guys want any waters or anything up here?
I'm okay, but thank you. I actually have to slip out before I will come back and order a drink.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you.
good.
Appreciate
No.
it.
So, okay, that's the cool thing about the show. And I mean, for me, this has been a great show for me. I started a podcast here. I've had really cool
You started
opportunities.
the podcast at this conference?
Yes,
Yeah.
by accident.
How'd that happen?
I've always been doing written interviews. I've done interviews for 15 years. So
Right.
I love interviews for same what we talked about earlier. I enjoy hearing people's stories of what they do and how they come to be. I used to do them by writing. I would interview someone like you, and we'd have a talk. I would write it out. I send it to you, just so you know I didn't say anything that screwed up, or if you want to change how you say it, because that's polite, right?
Yeah.
And then I finally got to the 21st century. I had a phone. So the very first person I interviewed with the phone was Robert J. Sawyer.
Okay.
Right? And somewhere during that conversation, either maybe right after when we finished the interview, for his podcast. And it was just one of those things where it's like, podcast? I never thought of a podcast. And just something clicked in my head. It's like, could I do it? Yeah, I think I can do it. All right, let's see what happens. And that was.
That's cool.
Yeah. So this has been a very good con for me because through this I've had the opportunity to meet honestly incredible people. Like I actually said this to a guy while everybody was in there talking. And I'm not trying to face it. Like, you know what? I was surrounded with you, Jonas, Adam Dries, Susie Vidori, Naomi Davis, right? And they are I looked at like realistically speaking in terms of accomplishment, all right? I might be the least accomplished person in that room. And I didn't feel like small for that. It's like, this is a really cool fucking room. Yeah, right. This is,
Like when you look at all the people you're with and you're like, wow, look at all the things.
It
is. I get that feeling all the time here.
Yeah. So, and I'm assuming that's why you do your own show.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have a thing I like to say, and it's based on Michael Connelly's character Harry Bosch, who's a detective who says, everybody counts or nobody counts.
Yep.
And I honestly, truly believe, I come to this conference to teach and share the things I know and do presentations and panels. Even when I'm doing a solo presentation, I learn something from the people who ask questions. I learn something from the fellow panelists. I learn something from the hallway conversations. And my mantra, inspired by Michael Connelly's Harry Bosch, is that everybody teaches me or nobody teaches me. If I'm not open to learn from, everyone has something. Even if they are just the day one, they came here and said, I think I might want to be a writer, I'm going to think about it. I can learn from them something about writing that I didn't have before. I can learn from dude with 150 books published and like all the things about the publishing industry. I can learn from both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I would go one step further, it's not necessarily even writing you're learning from. It's just their own stories and what they can teach you about yourself.
Who they are. Yeah. Everybody has something to teach me, and that to me is very empowering, because when you're hanging out and meeting new people, you can genuinely be in the moment with a person and talk to them and understand who they are, where they come from, and what they do, and what drives them, what's their passion. And you'll learn something about them, and you'll learn something about yourself.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing that I come away and I go, wow, I didn't take a lot of notes this time. I normally do take a lot of notes, but I think I walked away with so much more information and insight, which is amazing. I feel so much richer for having been here.
So, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing you learned this time?
Biggest thing I learned this time, I think the biggest thing, it's a difficult one because I'm not walking away with an overwhelming, this one moment.
Yeah.
But I probably have a dozen things that somebody said something in a certain way that made me think something else, and I wrote it down and went, oh my God, thank you for inspiring me.
Yeah.
I got to watch a couple friends of mine who have a book coming out together, their first book together, and one of them, it's their first book ever. and I got to watch them signing their book together for the first time.
That is so cool.
And there's a spark in that moment to see the look on their face and the joy and the passion. I mean, I learned something from that moment just watching what that meant to them, and it reminded me of that special moment with every single book you publish, or every single story you write, every single tale you share, every single podcast you publish, every single Instagram poetry you share, or whatever it is, that is a thing you put out into the world to connect with another human being, and that's really what we're here for, is that reader and writer connection. And When Words Collide is a beautiful name for this conference, because it's when passions collide, when people collide, when hearts collide, when words collide, because the words carry all of those things for us, and it's such an amazing experience. I mean, I do come away from this conference. It might take me a week to figure out what my big thing was.
Yeah, that's all good.
Because it's all just sort of like, it's this great stew and it tastes delicious, but I can't figure out what are those new things that we added.
Yes.
I got to figure out what those things are, but I always feel that way when I come away from that, and I truly cherish the people who make this, because it's not, I mean, the organizers, I love them, they're great, the volunteers, they're awesome, the presenters, the panelists, the authors, the guests, every single person who attends this conference makes it what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's a truly unique and special thing.
Yes. Randy McCharles deserves a lot of credit for that.
He does, yeah. He's kind of like the orchestra leader, right?
Yeah.
Who conducts that and allows people to bring out the best in them.
Yeah.
To make that happen.
No, you run, and I always say this: Randy never gets enough credit. So I always, every once in a while, I make sure he does.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But he has this ability to, I think, to pull greatness out of the people around him in such a special way.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
All right. So, Mr. Mark, I think we have a decent interview here.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think
that was always a good chat with you, Josh.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I was scared. I think I mentioned this last year. My first ever panel was with you.
That's right. That was you. It didn't seem. Well, no, because you're used to interviewing people and talking, so you seemed naturally comfortable. And,
absolutely. Yeah. And also, I've been through enough stuff. But it's like, wow. And now this year, I did moderate my first ever panel. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It was fun. It was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, moderator, interviewer.
Yeah, it's not that different.
Yeah.
The only difference is I focus on whatever that topic is supposed to be at hand. Whereas here, I can be a lot more free flowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, what's coming out for you?
What's coming out for me is a book based on my 25 plus years of experience in the publishing industry, because people keep saying, you put it down, your presentation's great, but there's way too much to pack into a day. Put it in a book.
I actually completely agree with that. Talking to you a few times, I have them like I should have brought a notepad.
Put that. And then I have another nonfiction book, Macabre Montreal, which is already in process with the last edit, and that's coming out in October. So Ghost Stories of Montreal.
Ghost Stories of Montreal. Okay. Yeah. And then how can people find you?
MarkLeslie.ca. You can find everything about me there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give me a second here.
And that was my conversation with Mark Leslie. Mark, like I said, just released a bunch of books. He's kind of doing things on his own. You would do far worse if you're a writer than to work with Mark. So I recommend him highly. So Mark, good luck, man. I hope everything's been going well with you. And with that, I kind of want to just wrap up my When Words Collide experience. There's kind of like one more conversation, and I'll get to that in the end. I just kind of want to talk about a personal thing. I've always had the philosophy that it's not about sales. And I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. You're trying to sell books, you're trying to sell music, you're trying to sell your material, whatever that is. But it's more important to bring your philosophy, your culture, for lack of a better word, to people. And When Words Collide actually was, for me, a really big sign of that kind of paying off. I've mentioned this on a few of these talks about the Dr. Seuss off, and it's talked about here to some degree as well, and a few other conversations. And it's one of the best things I've ever done. I've always believed that people may not necessarily want to buy your book, but everybody wants to have fun, and that has always been my philosophy. And to watch it pay off the way it did, I I created a panel where people were leaving smiling. It was phenomenal, and it was a blast, and I'm definitely going to be doing it again, no matter what show I do, where I go next. I mean, this is definitely going to be a cornerstone of things to come. But anyway, yeah, so When Worlds Collide, I gotta say thank you very, very, very much for letting me figure out a lot of things long ago, and giving the opportunity to chat with people like Mark and others. So thank you guys. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. So you can support the podcast a bunch of different ways. You can subscribe to it. iTunes, Google Play, Podomatic, my home for this. You can do all those things. And I would encourage you to do one. Subscribe, leave reviews, share the links to the podcast to as many different people as possible. You can buy my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and The Wandering God from Mirrorworld Publishing. So go to mirrorworldpublishing.com or go to Amazon and Kobo, wherever books are sold, brick and mortar or electronic. You can buy the books there. Same thing, leave a review. Let people know whether it's on Amazon or Goodreads or somewhere to that effect. I would be greatly appreciated. Beyond all that, you can, my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteleresco, you can definitely listen to some old conversations there. But no matter what you do, whatever you choose to do, whether you do these things or don't these things, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I hope you stay inspired. I hope you do your own thing, whatever that may be. And I appreciate all my guests. Thank you all for coming. And thank you for listening. And I'll see you guys next time with a bonus episode for When Worlds Collide. Kind of a great epilogue.
Josh.